What's up, YouTube? This is Jason from Idiot's Corner. Today I wanted to do a review of The Mandalorian Episode 6. I haven't done any other reviews of the past shows. I waited till 6 because I wanted to, not specifically 6, but I just wanted to wait until I had enough shows under my belt to really review the show. I mean, they're only half-hour segments. They're over pretty quickly. You know, a little bit, half hour to 40 minutes. They're over pretty quickly for the type of show they are, especially on a streaming channel. Usually they're about 45 minutes to an hour. This one's pretty short. Now that I've watched about 6 of them, I got 6 of them under my belt. There's supposed to be another one coming out tonight. I wanted to give my review of the show. Everybody loves the show. Not that I don't like the show. I do like this show. I do love Mandalorian, but I feel like the writing is lacking a lot. I feel like there's a little bit of poor writing, I would say. As we go through this episode, I'll tell you how I feel, and I hope they just, if they improve the writing, I think the show is awesome. I really like the feel of the show. It has a very Star Warsy feel. I don't know if that's a word, but I just made it up. But like I said, the writing is a little bit off. Some of the stuff they do is like, really? It's like almost like an old cartoon from the 80s where they didn't really try to make sense of the plot. And I'll show you in this episode. This episode had a few of them. So the graphics on this show are awesome. Like, this is how the show started. His ship comes flying in. I love his ship. It looks pretty awesome. It looks like you're watching a Star Wars movie at times. All of that looks pretty cool. So this show starts off where Mandalorian comes in. He lands on this spaceship. These guys seem like they do odd jobs, and you can see them building ships in the background. It's a pretty big base, and I don't know if this is the guy that runs the whole thing, hanging out in the garage of it. I guess I didn't pay that much attention to that part of it. I don't know if they went in depth and explained if he was the leader of the whole thing. But anyways, it's somebody that the Mandalorian knows, goes there for a job. Mandalorian, I love his costume, or whatever you want to call it. It's pretty cool, especially since the first one, how he's gotten some upgrades and stuff like that. This is the guy right here. You guys remember him. There was a lot of celebrities in this one. This is the guy who was on Son of Anarchies and other shows like that. I don't know what his name is. And then, of course, we got Bill Burr. Bill Burr was in this one. Lots of celebrities in this one. The last one was May from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This one we have Bill Burr. Bill Burr was pretty funny. I like Bill Burr. I love his stand-up and his podcasts and stuff. I listen to him all the time. And then here's that guy, a little close-up. Sure you guys recognize him. So the plot is he goes to this guy and asks, and he's looking for a job. They don't explain whether he needs money. This is just seems to be the theme of the show. It's almost like a lot of old shows from the 80s, like The Incredible Hulk. It was the Incredible Hulk would wander from place to place, and he would turn into the Hulk, and he'd have to leave. And he just happened to, that's kind of the plot with this. He goes and helps people or gets into some kind of ordeal and then moves on. It's always new characters. He was the only continuous character. Him and a few other people, like people that were hunting for him. Seems like the same thing with the Mandalorian. He's him and Baby Yoda are the only ongoing characters. They run into groups of people. They do jobs. So that was the plot of this one. This guy had a job for him. Bill Burr was the guy running the job. And there's another one of Bill Burr. Yeah, this guy, he looks like a knockoff Hellboy with some little horns. He was, and then they had this girl. You recognize her from Game of Thrones. I don't know what her name was. I guess she was on a Harry Potter, in the Harry Potter movies too. And they made it as if these two had a relationship before, which I hope they're not giving him much taste. She's not very attractive in this. But they made it out like as if they were in a relationship before. These are all people he knew. It's an old crew he ran with. They got a new job for him. She holds a knife to his throat. Like I said, she's not very attractive at all. So he's got very low standards. Then they had this android guy, and he's like the really smart one. Everybody on the crew had a special talent, and he was the really smart one. So what the mission is for them, the job, is to go and rescue a prisoner from a prison cargo ship that's hauling them somewhere, I guess somewhere another part of the universe where they store criminals. and they don't tell him who it is, just that they have to go and rescue this guy. So on the ship, you see this guy. This is where some of the funny writing comes in. This guy just pushes buttons on the wall and opens up his all his tools. I mean, all his weapons. And like, there's no code. He just pushes buttons and it opens it up. There's no lock for it. He doesn't have it secure at all. And then so the Mandalorian, then the guy tries to take off his mask, and you can see they're joking around with him, talking about how he never takes his mask off while they're flying to the job. And he tries to take the Mandalorian's mask off. The Mandalorian handles him pretty quick, throws him into the wall like he was nothing. And I say this because later on you're going to see how he fights him later on, and he can't do like, the guy is super strong. Like, that's the thing with this guy, is he's really strong. That's his thing. Bill Burr's thing is he's the gunner. This girl's thing is she's like good with throwing knives. So as they're wrestling around, and he just tosses this guy around like he's nothing right here, and the guy falls into the wall and opens the door, and there's Baby Yoda hanging out, chilling. That's another thing with the writing. Like, Baby Yoda is always in a closet or something like that. Like, I understand he's not supposed to be the best father, but I mean, this is like abuse. So like, he just sits in this closet. You know, they like, when he was talking to these people, Baby Yoda hasn't been in it till now in the episode. So he's been in this closet for all this time. Like how does he feed him? What does he do? Just sit there? Does he read? What does he do? He just sits there in the closet. That's a little bit weird in the writing, I think. Figuring he's traveling around for long periods of time, I think they need to figure something out to do with that. They get to the prisoner transport. They come down this ladder in the background here, and this is all of them. They're looking for the control room. They want to get to the control room, I guess, so they can figure out where this prisoner is locked up. While they're on their way there, they run into these guards, I would call them, droid guards, or whatever you want to call them. And there's 4 of them. And they have like a shootout with them, and they can't get them down, you know. They're really hard, these 4 droids. And like I said, there's 4 of them right now, and they're all shooting at them, but they just can't, they're not making any progress. They're too hard for them. And you'd think these guys were made of like some kind of Lutanian steel or something. They're unstoppable almost, it seems like, in the very beginning here. So then Mandalorian comes and he fights them, and he burns them, and he takes them down pretty easily. He like sneaks around the back somehow. He doesn't know his way around the ship, but somehow he goes around and gets behind them. Finds his way through the hallways and gets behind them. And then he fights them himself, and he takes them all out. He takes out all 4 of them, and then 2 more come, and he takes them out. And meanwhile, they're shooting at him, and I know he's got his armor on in his certain positions, but the lasers just bounce off the armor wherever. You know, they always seem to just hit him in his armored areas. So he shoots one of them with their own gun and puts a hole in him like that. Now, everybody else was shooting at him and wasn't doing anything. He takes their own gun that they were shooting at them and shooting at him, and he's able to shoot. So it's a little bit like, I feel like convenience, you know what I mean? Wherever the plot calls for, that's what happens. I don't know if that makes any sense. They're not consistent with the rules of things. Like, if their guns are that powerful to blow a hole right through them, but they can't do anything to his armor. I understand he's got special armor on. It's really extra strong. But he's not armored everywhere, you know? He's got a lot of open areas, and he never gets hit there. He always gets hit in his armor. And then the other people weren't armored at all. So, and nothing was happening to them. So it's a little bit, that's what, like I'm saying, the writing needs to improve a lot, I believe. Then they get to the control room. They find this guy. This guy is a human. There wasn't supposed to be a human on board. Mandalorian tries to negotiate to let the guy go. But of course, they don't want to do it. And they don't really show if the guy gets killed or not. She throws something at him and he falls to the ground. I mean, but she only throws it at his stomach. So I don't know if the guy dies. That's another issue with the Disney Channel. It's very G-rated. So you don't really see anything too gruesome. There's in the beginning, in the trailer, they show like stormtrooper heads on poles and stuff, but it's basically just their helmets. So that's like how the show is. Is it just a helmet on the pole? Is there an actual head in it? You don't know, you know, and that's how the whole show is with, as far as the violence and everything. They don't really show anything. And a lot of times, especially through this episode, stuff happens and you don't know if he killed him. You don't know what happened. So I think that kind of, I feel like that hinders the show a little bit. It's very G-rated. It's like a Disney cartoon, a live action Disney cartoon. So now this guy's got this transponder and he drops it and it's supposed to alert. It's supposed to be sending fighters there. It's a distress signal. And they should be coming there. Now they say they get a call on the radio right at this time and they've got 20 minutes. He says on the radio. They're 20 minutes away. So they have 20 minutes to get the prisoner and get off. So they're going through the hallways. Now they've unlocked the prisoner, he's guiding them on the radio how to get everywhere. They know they're going directly there. So they run into these things. These are, it looks like what's beefed up drones. You know, the other ones were little skinny drones. These are like beefed up drones. And they run into those and they look awesome. It's like, man, what do these things do? But before they get a chance to do anything, see, there it is again. Before this thing gets a chance to do anything, you don't know what it can do, what it's capable of. This guy runs up and body slams it. And then he throws it at the other one, another one that comes around the corner and blows them up. And there's a big fire. So you don't get to see what they do. And they're obviously not that tough. This guy just picks it up and body slams it and then throws it. Like, I know he's kind of strong and everything, but they just blow up from hitting into each other. And that's what I'm saying. Like, 1 minute the Mandalorian's like grabs his hand and pulls it off the thing and slams him into the closet. And the next thing, this guy's throwing these tank-looking things across the room. So the writing's a little bit iffy with this. And then there's a huge explosion. So I don't know if they have some kind of fuel on them. But anyways, here it is again. He picks it up, body slams it, and then throws it. So they finally get to the prison cell. Now remember, they had 20 minutes, right? And when they get there, they open the cell. They were guided there. They stopped for a second to mess with those two robots, which took them all of 3 seconds to body slam them and throw them. And it's the girl with the things coming off her head. It's her brother, and he looks pretty much the same as her. He's probably more pretty than she is. And that's who they're there to rescue. Well, they end up double-crossing him, double-crossing the Mandalorian. Of course, he's double-crossing every show. Hopefully this isn't the same theme they use over and over where he trusts somebody and they double-cross him, because you'd think he'd have learned by now. They lock him in a cell, so he is able to, so when they get there, they announce, you got 15 minutes. So it took them 5 minutes to get from the control room to the cell. So now they got to get to the cell, from the cell to the spaceship in the last 15 minutes. So he's locked in the cell, and he's able to rip off a droid's arm from in the cell. He shoots a cable out, pulls the droid over. The droid sticks his arm in to shoot him. He pulls the droid's arm off, and then he uses the droid's arm. He's able to make the key or whatever this thing they always use on Star Wars. He's able to pop it out and stick it into the lock and open the door with it. And I mean, there's no power to the droid. However he's able to do this, it's a little far-fetched. But he's able to get out of the cell. So he's got 15 minutes. And meanwhile, Baby Yoda appears in the ship where this other android stayed. And now he sees Baby Yoda. And this android, the guy with the bug eyes, he has seen a transmission. He has seen a transmission from Action Jackson, the guy in the beginning that paid the guy from Rocky. I don't remember what his name is. He's seen a transmission from him that they're looking for this guy. They're looking for Baby Yoda. And so now he knows, which is ridiculous. He just happens to stumble upon this transmission by messing with the controls. He just happens to stumble upon this transmission so it's convenient for the story. So now he's taking Baby Yoda. And now he sees Baby Yoda, so now he wants to go after him. And he's going to shoot him or whatever. He gets his gun, but Baby Yoda disappears. There's Baby Yoda's face, like, whoa, who's this guy? And then he disappears. So then meanwhile, Mandalorian has made it back from the cell. He busted out of the cell. That had to have taken 5 minutes. How long would it have taken for somebody to walk by? He had to wait until an android walked by, and it just happened to walk by. So even we'll say it took a minute. So there's 6 minutes, right? Now the Mandalorian has went from the control room from the cell back to the control room. And in the control room, he was able to shut down doors. That's why everything's red in this one. So that's the brother that they saved. So they get separated, and he's like, we need to get back to the ship. And Bill Burr's like, well, what about your sister? And he's like, what about my sister? So you see how trustworthy the guy is. Even his own sister, he's like, what about her? He don't care. So he tells Bill Burr, hey, if you kill the Mandalorian, I'll make sure you get triple what you asked for. And Mandalorian and Bill Burr's like, as long as I better be able to trust you. The guy just cheated his own sister. Do you really think you can trust him? I don't think so. So anyways, that's the guy's face. When Bill Burr says that to him, I better be able to trust you, that's the face he makes. And he kind of leaves Bill Burr to deal with the Mandalorian. Now, they all know that this gunship is coming there to blow up the whole station in 15 minutes. But Bill Burr's willing to, for triple the amount, stay behind, kill the Mandalorian, and then make it back to the spaceship. Because if he doesn't make it back to the spaceship, he doesn't get his money. And he's going to trust this guy to give him triple the money. And so, I mean, it's just a little bit crappy writing, I feel. This guy makes it back to the control room now. Now, remember, it took him 5 minutes the first time to go from the control room to the cell. Now, the Mandalorian went back to the control room. That has to be another 5 minutes. Now they're down to 10 minutes. Has to be down to 10 minutes. And probably more, because it took him a little bit before somebody actually walked by to get him out of the cell. Then this guy, who was already past the cell on his way to the ladder, goes back to the cell because they're alerted. Mandalorian's able to disable the guy. The android is in the spaceship, in the Mandalorian spaceship, and he's telling them where to go. He's telling them everything. So when they go to the cell, he's told them where to go, and they know exactly how to get there. I mean, when they go to the control room the first time. But now the Mandalorian was able to disable all that. Now they lost communication with the guy. So this guy makes it back he's past the cell. So there's another 5 minutes that this guy had to take, plus however many minutes he was past the cell. He was almost to... So let's think this out. They're in the control room. He tells them they have 20 minutes. Then they go to the cell. He tells them they have 15 minutes. So it took them 5 minutes to go from the control room to the cell. Now they're at the cell. They lock the Mandalorian in. He gets himself out. We'll say that didn't take any time at all. We won't... That just magically happened instantly. So now Mandalorian travels back to the control room. There's another 5 minutes, right? And disables the controls. Now he's in the control room. This other guy was past the control room. He travels back to the control room. Hellboy looking guy. He was past the control room. Now he travels back there. So there's 15 minutes right there. You got 5 minutes left. Now the Mandalorian has 5 minutes left to get from the control room past the cell to the ship. So the writing is just very, very loose. So anyways, now he's in here. Mandalorian handled him like a champ when he was on a ship. But now, I mean, this guy's slamming around the Mandalorian like he was a rag doll. And the Mandalorian tries to burn him. He's obviously fireproof. He knocks the guns out of the Mandalorian's hands. So finally the Mandalorian drops the door on him, which he stands back up and picks the door back up. And then the Mandalorian triggers a second door that you can see it swing shut. And like them doors are right next to each other. So his head is right in there. This door should have chopped his head off. But all they really show is the two doors come together and close. So you think, man, that guy's got to be dead, right? I mean, look at this scenario. His head, this is a steel door. I mean, they couldn't shoot through it. They're blast-proof doors. And it slammed shut on his head. So his head has got to be between these two sets of doors. He's got to be dead. That's what you think. So now the Mandalorian, with 5 minutes to spare, hunts down each one of them. Bill Burr now is walking down a corridor by himself looking for the Mandalorian to kill. And he comes across 3 bots. Now remember last time there was 4 of them, and they had a hard time with 4. The 4 had them pinned down. They couldn't do anything. He kills them by himself. 1 shot almost each one. Just a couple shots. Before he was shooting at them and the stuff was like ricocheting off them. Wasn't hurting them at all. 1 shot to each one just about. And he took them all out. So then the Mandalorian comes to her first. And this is how it ends. They have a fight. She throws some throwing knives at him. They all hit his armor. None of them hit these areas over here. She's a master with throwing knives, right? She's balancing them on her fingers the whole time. She can't hit any of his unarmored areas with throwing knives. And he gets her with the knife to the throat. They don't show what happens to her. Boom. Now he finds this guy. He comes sneaking up behind him. And finds Bill Burr. And you see Bill Burr's really scared right there. And then, boom, he's taken Bill Burr. Now he's made his way all the way back to the ladder. All in 5 minutes. He's taken out all 3 people, made his way back to the ladder, and he gets the brother. The brother tells him, "You're not going to get your reward if you don't take me with you." And so they don't show what happens to him, but he decides to take him. So now Baby Yoda, the android in the ship, finally finds Baby Yoda. He's hiding in his closet. And Baby Yoda tries to use the Force. It's a cool moment. Baby Yoda tries to use the Force and take out the guy. This is the guy standing here, this little shadowy figure. And the guy's just about to blast Baby Yoda, and then Baby Yoda's really trying to use the Force. Nothing really happens, but boom, the guy gets blown up, and Baby Yoda thinks it was him, and he looks at his hand. It's a cool moment. It's cute. I don't know how much more they're going to be able to use the cute Baby Yoda moments to keep people interested. I really feel like they're going to need to step up the writing. But turns out it was just the Mandalorian. He was standing behind him, so he made it back to the ship. So now the ship takes off. You still haven't seen these people that were coming to the fighters that were coming to destroy the prison thing. And now they're back he brings the brother back to the guy that hired him in the first place. He asks, "Where's the crew?" He tells him no questions. That's the thing they got going on. That doesn't care. He doesn't even seem worried. So the rest of the crew was worth giving up for this one guy. They don't say why. They don't say how good this guy is. They don't show what talent this guy has. He obviously isn't that good. He was caught. They don't show why this guy was so valuable. They never say why this guy was so valuable that it was okay to give up 3 members of the crew who they showed what their values were. The one guy was tough as nails and really strong. Bill Burr was a sharpshooter for the Republic, and the girl was, good with throwing knives. They don't show what this guy has, but boom, he got him back. He doesn't care. He's like, "What happened to the rest of the crew?" The Mandalorian's like, "No questions," and he's like, "Okay," and he just smiles. That's it. So it's a little bit crappy writing. So right here, they're talking about he's going to pay him. Here he is throwing him his money. This guy never says, "Oh, I offered him double the money," or "I offered him more money because he was going to take me." Never. He just takes his money and he gets on his ship and he's leaving. So as he's leaving the ship, as he's leaving there's their main base. It's it's a big thing. I don't know. I didn't really get into Star Wars that much. So forgive me that I don't know all the names. I don't know the names of the different people. Some of this stuff that I'm telling you, I'm telling you as somebody that I've seen all the Star Wars a couple times. I don't know the world that well, the world of Star Wars that well. I seen them the second one when it came to the movie theater back in the I want to say early 80s. So that I've seen Star Wars, but I don't know all the terms. I don't know all the people. I don't know what they are. I didn't even know what a Mandalorian was. I had to watch it. So anyways, so he's leaving this spaceship. This guy figures out they're gonna take out the Mandalorian. This fighter comes up, and I don't know if they're gonna fly it out there and chase him down, but they decide they're gonna double cross him again. They're gonna kill him. They gave him the money. I don't know why they just didn't kill him on the ship and then save themselves some money, but they gave him the money already. But now they're gonna take him out. So they're getting so this is coming up. Then all of a sudden, 3 X-Wing fighters appear. You see these 3 out here? And you find out this guy had that tracking thing on him. Mandalorian must have snuck it into his pocket. And he never noticed it because they hear the beeping. They don't hear it till the Mandalorian leaves. Then all of a sudden they can hear the beeping. And he pulls it out of his pocket and boom, X-Wing fighters appear. Now it took him no time at all to get to this base. But it was going to take him 20 minutes to get to the prison transport. But like I said, no time at all. Boom, they're here. And you can see his face like, "Oh, what happened?" That's the funniest face right there. He looks like he's taking a crap. And here they come. They start shooting at the base. It's a distress signal. So I don't know why, if the prison lets off a distress signal, I guess that automatically means they come and destroy it. I would never let off the distress signal if I was on the thing. I don't know what the distress signal is for. You would think they'd come out to see what was going on, but no. They come right away, and that's their thing. You set off a distress signal, you're getting destroyed. So they come right away. They see the destroyer in there, what they call the fighter plane, and they blow it up. And you can see there they are, flying past the X-Wing. Look at the graphics. I mean, the graphics are awesome. This little base station, this little station up here is awesome. And then they start attacking it. They're just going to destroy it. They don't know if innocent people are on here. They don't know what it is. They got a distress signal, so that means destroy whatever that distress signal's on. So then the Mandalorian, they show him flying away. And there's Baby Yoda in the back. He says to him, you were right, or something like that. I don't know what he was right about. They don't explain that. He just says, you were right about that. And Baby Yoda looks up like, oh, okay, cool. And then he gives him the ball off of the controller. That's him looking back. That's when he tells him, you were right about this. I kind of went back because I missed this one. Then they show these guys. So none of them are dead. This guy was not dead. That door did not crush his head. Nothing happened. They're all alive. And I don't know if they're leaving them alive because they're going to come back later. I don't know if they're going to be his crew at some point in time, if they're going to add people to his crew, or if they're just going to appear in a later episode to get revenge. But they're all alive. It could be just because it's a Disney show and it's G-rated, so no one can die. But people have died in past episodes, supposedly. So whatever reason they left these guys alive, they're in this cell that the brother was in, and that's how the show ends. Anyways, like I said, I like The Mandalorian. It's a good show. I really like. There's no politics in it, no identity politics. It's just a good show. It has that Star Wars feel. Awesome graphics. Really, it's like you're watching a Star Wars movie every weekend. I know they have a really big budget for the episodes. I just feel like they need to put some of that into the writing. The writing itself and some of the stuff that happened is far-fetched. I know it's a movie about people in space and stuff, but their time frames are off. Weapons are powered, dependent on the plot at that time. Same with characters. Their strengths and weaknesses are dependent on the plot at that time. It switches throughout the episode. They rely a lot on conveniences. They conveniently stumble across something, like in the last one or a couple before this, when there's a bounty hunter getting ready to shoot Baby Yoda with the sniper. The girl just happens to be behind him and take him out at the last minute. So I think a lot of that's got to change. They've got to give them a crew so they have something to lose. With only 2 characters in every episode, there's nothing to lose because neither one of them is going to die. So they really have to add some people that are dispendable, I guess you could say. You don't know whether they're going to die or not. Because everyone else in every episode is usually a bad guy or someone that's going to double cross them. When they do have good characters that you're rooting for, you really can't develop that much of a relationship with them and a feel for them in one episode, because it's usually just a portion of the one episode, a portion of the 30 minutes or 35 minutes goes to building up that person, and if they went away, it's not really a big deal for the most part. So I really feel like they need to get some other characters in there, develop them, so you have something to lose. With nothing to lose, and he's kind of a Mary Sue when the plot calls for it. He's kind of a Mary Sue character. So I feel like they really need to do something. They really need to fix the writing. They really need to step it up. Other than that, I think it's a great show. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys love the show? Do you think there's anything they need to do? Do you think it's fine the way it is? Leave me a comment. Anyways, thanks for watching. Until next time, may the Force be with you.